I think we got it. Okay. Hello. There we go. Okay, ma'am. Let me give you this. Go ahead and clip that on your shirt there. Ah. Both of them? Yep, got both of them. Okay.
Oh, yeah, they have the Friday.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate you for being here. Sorry we're getting started a little late. I had technical difficulties. Stacy can't be here. She might be here later in the meeting. She had an urgent thing with the school district. Just a couple things from me, and then we'll get right over to Tabitha. Just want to remind everybody the chamber mixer for April is the community conversation about the possibility of incorporation for Reeland and Elverta. Scheduled at 6:30 at the Legion Hall on April 10th. It's a meeting that's designed to be an open forum for all residents, regardless of their stance on incorporation. The chamber encourages everyone to attend, ask questions, and share their concerns. Please also subscribe to the Reeland Online YouTube page. Facebook is deleting all of the live videos next month, so I'm moving them all over to YouTube right now. And the Reeland Grange is hosting its annual spring plant sale on Saturday, April 12th from 9 a.m. to noon. Okay. Tonight, we have a very special guest with us. Tabitha Worth is a pillar of our community, someone many of you know for her tireless dedication, particularly her years of organizing the annual Christmas Light Parade. Tonight, Tabitha is here to share a deeply personal and heartbreaking story. 2023, she lost her son Jay to the devastating consequences of fentanyl. Out of this devastating loss, Tabitha has channeled her grief into action, founding the nonprofit organization BUD, or Better Understanding Drugs. Her mission is to raise awareness and provide education about the dangers of substance abuse, particularly fentanyl. Tonight, she's here to share Jay's story and her vision for BUD. Please join me in welcoming Tabitha Worth.
Thank you. Thank you. I am going to do my absolute best to not lose it. I presented at the Lions Club a few weeks ago, and it was very, very hard. I was talking to John and Vianne on how I was going to start. I didn't know if I wanted to start about my son and his story in the nonprofit, or dive into opioids and fentanyl and give some facts and information and details. I think based off of this, I'm going to go ahead and start with fentanyl and opioids and just kind of give some context to what's happening here in California and what's happening nationwide. So fentanyl is a deadly synthetic opioid. It is 50 times stronger than heroin, and it is 100 times stronger than morphine. It was first developed in 1959, and then it was introduced in the 60s as a intravenous anesthetic. So it is, cancer patients use it to help with pain when people are going in for surgery. You know, when it's monitored by a doctor, it's manageable. But as we all know, it's not. The synthetic opioid crisis is rampant in our state, in our county, in our nation, and we need to have those uncomfortable conversations and start having these conversations with our parents, with our kids, with our sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, and we need to make the conversation comfortable for our youth to come and talk to us about it. I think a lot of that is a problem, the lack of understanding. I'm still learning during this process. It's the lack of communication and the lack of information that's out there, that's right there, tangible, like you can get it. Over the recent years, that's changed, which is phenomenal. Some myths about fentanyl. So there's a myth that you can OD by touching it. If there was fentanyl powder or pills on this table and I was to touch it, I would not OD. Fentanyl is very, very hard to absorb through your skin. They actually have spent millions and millions of dollars to come up with the fentanyl patch for patients to wear for chronic pain because it's very hard to absorb through your skin. So if there was something here on the table and I was to touch it, I'm not likely going to OD on it. It's just poorly absorbed. I did watch a video about a doctor from UC Davis Health talk about they have family that are first responders. So what happens if they walk into a building and there's dust in the air from fentanyl? He was saying it's very unlikely for somebody to OD on the spot from that because fentanyl has very low vapor pressure and it cannot go into aerosolized, so getting it into the air that way. Still be cautious, obviously, but it's not something that is going to impact you like right on the spot. Changing my page here. So how does our body feel pain? So most fentanyl, like obviously it was created to help manage pain, and a lot of our youth or those that take the drugs, it's for pain, or they have an addiction because they feel like they have the pain, they've become accustomed to it. So this is from a reference from the Nucleus Medical Media. So pain in your is passed through a signal. It's a nerve signal, and it goes to your spinal cord, to your brain, and in your brain, the signal is perceived as pain, right? So if I was to jam my finger, pain goes through, right? So opioid drugs affect how you feel when you take it. They have tiny structures called opioid receptors, and those opioid receptors are found on cells in your brain, your spinal cord, and other areas of your body. So opioids react on those receptors and they attach to them, making you feel less pain. And that's how fentanyl works. It attaches to the receptors. Now, opioids act on a reward pathway in your brain, and this causes a release of a chemical called dopamine. So it makes you feel good, okay? And it has that happy feeling, that high feeling, and that's why people take it, because they feel happy and high, but they don't understand the risks that they are putting on them and their families because they don't realize what they're taking. It takes 0.002 grams of fentanyl to take somebody's life. That is so minuscule, the smallest of something. So we have a lot of counterfeit pills that are out there that people have access to that are sold, and they don't realize what they're taking. So they do have fentanyl testing strips where you can test a pill, right? But say I have 5 pills and I only test one. I'm not going to test all of them and turn it into a liquid to turn it into a powder to take it. And that's the process you have to go through to use the fentanyl testing strips. So I can test one and it can test negative for it. But those other ones in my hand might contain a deadly dose and could take my life if I was to take that. So don't buy street drugs, whether you think it's something that's real and legit or if it's cheaper, like just don't. It's not worth it. It's really not. Opioids can cause slow breathing, and they actually can reduce the motion in your intestines, resulting in constipation. So for those that do have surgeries and you get prescribed opioids, a lot of the times they prescribe you something to kind of help you go to the bathroom, because that's what it does. It slows down your intestines and your ability to go to the bathroom. Not to be too graphic there. Some misuses of opioids can cause tolerance, and tolerance is the buildup of the opioid receptors, and they are less receptible to the opioids, so you increase that tolerance, and each time you take it, you have to use more and more and more to get to that high, to get to that happy place, to get to that feeling that you were at when you first started. It also can cause opioid withdrawals. So that's going to be flu-like symptoms. So it's going to be restlessness, muscle weakness and soreness, inability to sleep, watery eyes and nose, nausea, vomiting, stomach cramps and diarrhea, and then dilated pupils. So if you've ever been around somebody that you might have thought was on opioids and abusing it, you know, they're going to be constantly sore, restless, stomach aches, diarrhea, cramps, seems like they have the flu. Just pay attention to those symptoms. Like if you think somebody, just start kind of like watching them and maybe try to have like an open dialogue and conversation to open it up to see if you could potentially save somebody's life, because you never know. You just never know. Opioid addiction, you get that overwhelming feeling, you know, just like with anything. Chocolate, I mean, there's so many different things that you could be addicted to. And this is one thing that you don't want to get addicted to. So just pay attention to that. And addiction, I want to say this. Addiction is not the same as being dependent upon something. So you can have an addiction to it, but you're not necessarily dependent upon it, and vice versa. You can be dependent upon something, especially coming out of a surgery. If you're having that pain, you have to take that to be able to get through. You just need to be very careful with fentanyl because it is highly addictive. I feel like our medical world has gotten stricter, and they've kind of tightened the reins because of the crisis that has overtaken our nation with opioids. But it's a little too late, in my opinion. So an overdose can cause confusion. When somebody is overdosing, they can be confused, sleepy or not alert. They can be nauseous. They can throw up. They'll have constricted pupils, and then it goes into unconsciousness and death. And you literally just stop breathing. Your brain cannot tell you to breathe. Like our bodies right now, our brain is telling us to function. When you are ODing on fentanyl, your brain is shut off, and those receptors are not working for you because fentanyl has attached to them and has shut your ability to simply breathe. According to the CDC, 100 people die a day of opioid overdose. 100 people a day. My son was one of 100 that day that he passed away.
Wow. That's a lot.
My son was one of 87,000 that year that he passed, for fentanyl specifically, not for opioids. Opioids, it was over 100,000 deaths, but due to fentanyl that year, he was one of 87,000. A lot of it's online. There's so many different code names for it, which I'll kind of go over to kind of track if you do have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, just being around in the community if you hear something, you know what I'm saying, to kind of be aware of that. Kids are good at disguising things, as we all know, and it's a different world now than it was years ago. A couple of facts. In 3 years, so from 2019 to 2021, the California opioid-related deaths spiked by 121%. That's according to the state's health department. A vast majority of those deaths were linked to fentanyl. As I said, my son was one of 87,000 fentanyl deaths that year that he died in 2023. I believe in our county he was one of 287. Most Americans aged from 18 to 44. And my son was 19 years old. Too young and dumb.
Yeah.
In 2019, the National Center for Drug Abuse Statistics released that opioids are the deadliest type of drug, and at least one type of opioid is a factor in 71.76% of overdose deaths. Opioids kill 3 times as many people as cocaine. California has the highest number of drug overdose deaths at 6,198 per year. 2.31% of all deaths are from overdoses, and 68% of that are attributed to synthetic opioids. According to the National Center for Drug Abuse, the death rate in California is 15 out of every 100,000 residents. And 8.81% of the nationwide overdose deaths occur here in California. And that's a lot. So opioids are, like I said, synthetic drugs, and it's fentanyl. Heroin is an opioid, and morphine is as well. A good thing is, as of February 25th, 2025, we have seen a decline in overdose deaths of 24% from the previous years, but we did have that spike of 121% from 19 to 21. So while it is on the decline, it is still very, very high. And it's important to share the information and have those conversations with people to make them aware. Because a lot of them, it'll never happen to me. It'll never happen to me. Or they don't realize what they're taking's not a legitimate prescription pill. I want to go over naloxone. Naloxone is literally the only thing that can save your life if somebody is overdosing on fentanyl or an opioid. A common brand name, Narcan. I'm sure most of you have heard about that. So opioids are agonistic, meaning they can bind to and act on specific receptors in your body, and that's why it's able to block that pain. Then the receptors are your brain stem, and your spinal cord. When these are activated by an opioid, people experience effects of pain relief, euphoria, calmness, relaxation, and slowed breathing. Taking too many opioids can fill too many receptors. That can cause the breathing to slow down or to stop, and you can overdose and die. So naloxone has a strong affinity to the opioid receptors. Naloxone is the opposite of opioids, which are agonistic. Naloxone is anti-agonistic, meaning it attaches to the opioid receptors without activating them. So when naloxone is administered, if somebody is ODing and you give them naloxone, I have some here to pass out too, by the way, for anybody that wants them. So this is what it looks like. Okay, So it's just like a little nasal spray, like Flonase, right? And it just goes up the nose and you push it. That's it. So I heard of a story of somebody that needed, I believe it was 17 doses to save their life. It depends on how much fentanyl is in your system. And you can give somebody one dose and they can wake up and come to. So naloxone will start working within minutes, and it will actually stay active in your body on those receptors for 30 to 90 minutes. Depending on how much is in your system, depends on how many doses you need. So it's important if somebody does have an overdose and you do give them this, well, first you need to call 911, and then you need to administer this because you need to get medical response services en route right away. They have more ability. They have it on their trucks, like they're able to help, right? So you call 911 and then you give this. This will start acting within minutes, depending on how much is in their system. So what happens is the opioids attach to the receptors on your brain, right? Which basically makes your body stop functioning and you just kind of shut down. The naloxone basically attacks those opioid receptors, kind of bumps them off. And then it opens up the receptors so your body can start functioning again. Now, the opioid is still there, still kind of lingering depending on how much is in your body. So after 30 to 90 minutes, depending, it could be less, right? The naloxone kind of wears off. That opioid receptor can go right back. So you can go right under again. So you definitely want to call 911. You definitely want to stay with them. And just kind of be there. You cannot OD on this. This will not harm you. If somebody is passed out on the street right now, say somebody passed out, and we had no idea what was wrong with them, and we go over and we're shaking them, waking them up, they're not responding, so we give them a dose of this. If they were just passed out because they were drunk, it's not going to harm them. If they passed out because they smoked too much pot and couldn't handle it, it's not going to harm them. So it doesn't harm you in any way, but it helps you in the most valuable way possible. So, sorry.
It's okay.
Sarah, if you need to take a break.
No, it's okay.
So the dose itself, is a full bottle?
Yeah, so each box, it's just one. You just give it all. And each box comes with two doses. So you give them the one. So you call 911, you give them the one. You see what's happening. If they are not being responsive after a little while, give them another one. Depending on, like I said, 0.002 grams of fentanyl can take your life. And when they make the illegal drugs and they mix it all in batches, it's not evenly distributed like if you're making a cake batter or something. So one pill could have a deadly dose and one pill cannot. It's literally like playing Russian roulette.
We had there was an event, and I forget who it was. I forget if it was the Chamber of Parks and Rec who hosted it. I think it was a retired Placer County Sheriff and his wife who had a program about fentanyl, the dangerous fentanyl. And what he said was that they are finding any drug, any regular drugs that you can get from the pharmacy that you're finding on the street right now are absolutely 100% adulterated with fentanyl. So if you've got a friend who's giving you, whatever, it's more than likely adulterated with fentanyl now. It's just so prevalent.
It's an easy money maker.
You hear about when they clean up these homeless camps and stuff, and all the fentanyl drugs they find on these people. I mean, it says they could kill, towns and this and that. It's just wow. Yeah.
It's horrible.
It's just unbelievable. Yeah.
And
So-
then a really important thing that you said as well with any 911 call is to stay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There, and here's the thing. I've heard stories where kids, took drugs, right? And their friend OD'd, and they left them on the mother's front yard. And they're scared that they're going to get in trouble. They don't care. They want to save a life. Like, I would not be able to live with that guilt. I wouldn't want anybody to live with that guilt. It's not worth it.
But when you have a child on drugs, you never are talking to that kid. You're talking to a drug.
Absolutely.
And they think differently. They react differently. They're not going to tell on anybody. They don't want to tell on their informer. They're loyal. As sad as it sounds, they're loyal to these horrible.
They're addicted to that high. They're addicted to that feeling, that dopamine that releases, and they want to keep that. A lot of people, depression, anxiety, social pressure, like it's,
Oh, and it's even worse for these kids today with this social media crap. Oh my goodness gracious.
my son was very much a victim of that. My husband hates social media, and for years hated it, and I wish we could have done things differently.
Well, you tried your best. You are a wonderful mother. You are a wonderful person.
We can't control the outside forces.
I know.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, he was hanging with the wrong people. You know? I mean, I've done drugs before. I mean, it's the rite of passage. It's teenagers. You know,
It's different now than it was.
Absolutely. And we always told even our kids, if you're going to do them with people that you trust, and everything else. But
You can't trust anybody.
My son was by himself. My son was alone.
It used to be that people took drugs that enhanced their own personality, like a heroin addict took a downer, something. What about fentanyl? Or what kind of?
They don't know they're taking it because they're putting it in those other drugs.
But a lot of kids buy a drug they think they're getting online, and it's fentanyl. What do they think they're getting?
It's mixed in everything. It could be.
Yeah, they're ordering a drug, and they think they're getting
It could be
the drug.
Norco. It could be like a Vicodin. It could be in.
It could even be cocaine.
It's mixed in with that.
Yeah. So
They put it in everything. So shortly after my son passed, I reached out to Sue Frost, and I should say she reached out to me when she heard, and she arranged a meeting for me because I was very much like, I want to change the world, and I want something good to come out of something so tragic, right? And she scheduled a meeting with Angela, who runs Arrives Alive, and she's done quite a few things here in the community, right? And she was telling me that they're watering pot plants with fentanyl to get it in the pot without you knowing to get you addicted. Like they're trying to get that addiction started, right? Wow. So people are not aware what's in anything that you get off of the street. You know what I mean? And it's something that is extremely scary because you never know. You just never know.
It's strange that long ago the code of ethics in most drug people said, like, what? We don't have data, but now they got to cut it to make more money.
Yep.
Make more money.
Yep.
How much money is enough money? I mean, like, how much do they need, I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, sorry.
No, that's okay. So I just want to go over again. So opioids, fentanyl, It attaches to the natural opioid receptors in our body, and it completely saturates them, causing your body to shut down and for you to stop breathing. Naloxone, Narcan, it binds to those fentanyl opioids. It knocks it off of the receptors and it takes over the receptors. It's the only thing that can bump the opioid receptor off to allow your body to kind of come to. Depending on how much you have in your system, like I said, depends on how much of the naloxone that you will need to have administered to you. Not cocaine. For opioids, it's an opioid. So administering the naloxone can actually cause someone, when they wake to go straight into a withdrawal because they were on this high, right? And they passed out. They were on a high. And they can go straight into the withdrawal because the opioids kicked off and the naloxone takes over the receptors. So if somebody does OD and you administer this, they could wake up very angry, very upset because they don't have that feeling. And that is completely, I hate saying that's completely normal for the situation because this should not be normal, but it is.
Yes, that's just
so naloxone acts as a competitive antagonist at opioid receptors, and it works by kicking them out. Instead of activating them, naloxone blocks that activity and allows your body to start functioning again. So if you just think you took something and it's attaching to your brain and it's telling your brain to shut down, like it's not allowing your brain to think about breathing, to think about swallowing, to think about doing all of the things that we don't think about doing, our body just naturally does it. Fentanyl opioids, it binds to those receptors and it prevents your body from doing that. Naloxone comes in and says, get the out of here, and starts allowing. Sorry.
So no, Chris just texted me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the naloxone, like I said, it'll act within minutes, depending on how much you have in your system, and it'll stay active for 30 to 90 minutes, give or take, and you might have to administer more to assist that person that's ODing. If they, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. If somebody is alert and awake, don't give them another dose. It's not going to harm them, but I wouldn't want. Exactly.
Since there's a little bit of delay, wouldn't it be better to give them the squirt and then call 911?
So they say to call 911 first, and I know that time is of the essence, but in the amount of time that I'm opening up the box as I'm like stressed because they're ODing and I'm struggling, I could have already have had them on their way, and depending where they're at, to be able to, you know what I mean? And your one dose or your two doses might not be enough. So 911 speakerphone, on speakerphone as I'm opening it up to deliver it, right? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not in that position, but if I am, at least I know what I need to do. You know?
Absolutely. So with that, I'm going to lead into the nonprofit bud and just tell you a little bit about my son. He was an awesome kid. He was a dick at times, but what kid's not, right? He wasn't a bad kid, but he used to walk through Relinda and at the farmer's market would pick wildflowers for Charlie and Shirley and take them over to them and help people carry stuff to their cars, and he always helped me when I needed help with stuff in the community, the Christmas tree, setting up barricades for the parade. Like, I remember one year he fell off a ladder when we were doing the Christmas tree. And he got right back up and continued to help. So I wanted to start a nonprofit to help spread the word and kind of be comfortable having the uncomfortable conversations, to be able to provide naloxone to anybody that needs it free of charge. So naloxone, if you go, you can get it over the counter. It's like $30 to $50. I don't think it should be free across the board. I know that there's a lot of places that do distribute it for free, but I want to make it readily and easily accessible for our community and others. Bud is registered with the state of California to be a distributor of naloxone, and they provide it to me so I can provide it to anybody that wants it. I went through their little online thing, registered our organization with them, and then I got 250 boxes delivered. And it came pretty quickly. I was quite surprised. So Bud. Bud was my son's nickname. Every text message that I had to him was, "Hey, Bud. Hey, Bud. Hey." And so I wanted the nonprofit to be special to me and have special meaning, but also something that people can say, "Oh, that's what that organization is," right? I didn't want it to be, the J or Jason Worth Foundation. So BUD as an acronym, Better Understanding Drugs. Let's understand what this deadly drug is doing to our communities. Let's start having those conversations and understand it and spread that knowledge with others, right? The more you know, the more you grow. Knowledge is power. So let's have those conversations. So my organization is up and running. We'll have a website soon, sponsored by somebody in the community who's amazing. We're working on that. And my board is just as special as this organization because everybody on the board meant a lot to my son, and my son meant a lot to them. So Charlie Moore, Jean Moore, and Shirley Breckenridge are my board. You all are very familiar with them.
Yes, yes. They told me that too at one of our. I went to something and Charlie and Shirley had been there. I think it was the according to that, they had to go to the meeting first and then
Yes.
came there.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
thought that was beautiful.
Yeah. So
Couldn't have better people behind you.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. So we want to have community events and spread the word and spread naloxone and kind of be a bridge to help anybody that might need it. So I did have a meeting with Stacy Bastian to talk about getting involved with the schools, and that's something that we're working on. So I'm excited for that.
Earlier and earlier.
They do, yeah. So I kind of already touched on this, but I just want to go over a few fentanyl awareness. So fentanyl is highly potent and extremely addictive. It often is mixed into heroin, cocaine, meth, and fake prescription pills. It's difficult to detect, and it cannot be seen, tasted, or smelled. Like, you don't know it's there. There's no identifying marker that's like, that's fentanyl. And overdose can occur within minutes. Signs of overdose are slow or no breathing, blue or grayish lips and fingertips, cold, clammy skin, unconsciousness or the inability to wake up, and gurgling or choking sounds. So if you see somebody that's kind of going through that, act quickly. What to do in case of an overdose? Call 911 immediately and then administer the naloxone, Narcan. Perform rescue breathing if necessary, CPR. And stay with the person until help arrives. How to protect yourself or others. Never take pills that weren't prescribed to you, because you just don't know. Avoid using drugs alone if you are going to use. And carry naloxone and know how to use it. And spread awareness and educate others. We're going to be having an event that we're going to be passing naloxone out at the community center. If you follow our Facebook page, I'll put the information out there about the event, the time, and we hope that the community comes. Bring your kids, bring your grandkids, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, just everybody can come and get some information and get some naloxone.
Can we keep that in the car?
No, you can keep it in the car. Yeah, I have a bunch in my car in my work bag, and gave a bunch to my daughter, and just kind of, you never know when you might need it. So it does. So these expire October of 2026, and the expiration date is on there.
They still work after.
I was going to say,
Um,
expired and that's all you got.
Yeah. So, it's kind of all I have. So, thank you guys for letting me come and speak.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate you.
This is so brave of you to do this. Oh my goodness gracious. You know where I was. I was at the other meeting. I just know I'm going to stop by.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Your message is important,
Thank you.
and we appreciate you sharing it with our community meeting.
Thank you. I'll leave these if you guys want them. That way the meeting can continue.
I just want to say thank you. You are so fabulous. And I love you so much. And if any of these bastards pick on you again, we're going to kick their ass.
Okay. Thank everybody for watching. We appreciate you. Have a good night. This will be available on YouTube as soon as I can transfer it. Thank you. Take care.